This long narrative poem is really a tapestry of stories, but there are two main streams. One stream talks about a conversation among a conference of birds. And the conversation is between the hoopoe bird. The hoopoe bird, who's very important in Islamic folklore and represents wisdom. And he's speaking with different birds, and he's trying to persuade them to go on this journey to seek Simorg. Simorg is the mythical king of the birds in Persian mythology. And in Persian Sufism, Simorg went on to become a very important poetic metaphor. So that's the first stream, where the hoopoe is conversing with these different birds and trying to persuade them. And each bird has its own excuse why they can't go on this long, dangerous journey. And then the other stream is actually the journey these birds undertake. And the journey that these birds undertake requires them to pass through these 7 valleys, each valley representing a stage of spiritual development. Now, what I'd like to tell you this afternoon are a series of stories from this first stream. So I'll begin with a prologue, and you'll hear different birds come and speak, and they'll give their excuses. And the hoopoe will answer. And in a very Middle Eastern tradition, you don't answer with just a sentence, you answer with a story, because a story always gives a better answer. And so you'll hear this conversation between the hoopoe and 3 or 4 birds, and then I'll end the set with an epilogue. So first, the prologue. Shana Besar, O hoopoe bird, in your feathered crown of wisdom, you keep all the secrets of the world. O hoopoe bird, keeper of secrets, Solomon the king made you his messenger. Bilqis the queen made you her guide to the memory palace of Solomon, where she raised her skirts to those floors of mirrors she mistook for a pool of water. Shana Besar, O hoopoe bird, keeper of secrets, tell me the secrets I keep from myself. Call me to the journey I am too afraid to undertake. Teach me the language of the birds, the language in which is spoken all that I have forgotten. And so it was that in a meadow opening to springtime, there gathered all the birds of the world, birds of different shapes and sizes, feathers with all the colors of the rainbow. Some birds were shaking off the dust of a long journey from their wings. Other, the snows of the winter past from their tail. And at once all the birds who were gathered there were filling the azure blue sky above them with the cackle of 100 different bird songs. Shana Besar, the hoopoe bird, was among them. But in those countless bird songs she heard the same song of quiet despair. And so the hoopoe began to speak to all the birds who were gathered there. And this is what she said. Brothers and sisters of the air, we wander the skies pretending that we know where we are going. But let me ask you this. Which one of you here has not had that long, dark night when you cried out to the darkness, "Where is my friend? Where is my father? Where is my king?" Brothers and sisters of the air, I heard that just the other night in China, when the shivering moon hid behind a curtain of dark clouds, a flash of light tore through the raven fabric of the sky. And from that flash of light fell something that looked like a chain of diamonds. It was a feather of many shapes and many colors. No two who looked upon that feather could agree on what it looked like. Brothers and sisters of the air, don't you understand that this feather can come from nowhere else except from the wing of Simorg, Simorg, king of the birds, Simorg, mother of every living thing. Now that we know that Simorg exists, all we have to do is go out and seek him. So I ask you, my brothers and sisters, who will join me on this journey to seek our king in China? Who will join me on this journey to seek our king at the end of the world? At once all the birds were silent, looking to the ground, or looking to the side as if the hoopoe was speaking to that bird, and not himself. But after a silence, the first bird came forward. It was Bulbul, the nightingale, singing a ghazal to his love. Forever sighing like the great lovers, Farhad and Majnun. Forever sighing, claiming love's madness to be his own. And this is what the nightingale said. Oh, Hoopoe, my sister, I, like you, want to go on this journey to seek our king. But alas, I'm in love. I'm in love with the rose. And the rose is in love with no one else but me. Every night I serenade her to chase away her nightmares. And every morning, with my wing, I wipe the dew from her petals, her tears that she sheds for fear of the night's darkness. If I leave my beloved rose, she will wither and die. So you understand, I cannot leave. And then the hoopoe replied to the nightingale, Eh, Bulbul. Oh, nightingale, indeed you are a passionate lover. But in those sleepless nights of loving, have you ever asked yourself whether it is the rose that you love or yourself? Blush before the rose, but do so out of gratitude, for the love that the rose offers you is not for you alone. And with those words, the hoopoe told the following story. Once there was a city ruled by an Amir, a prince. Now this Amir had a daughter who was the most beautiful creature in the world. Her face was like a sun without sunset. Her eyes dark as a warm summer night meant for two lovers. And her long black hair like a pair of raven wings in search for a deep longing. Now every day the daughter of the Amir would show herself on the balcony of the Amir's palace, a balcony that looked on a busy thoroughfare. And anyone who by chance glanced from the road up to that balcony and saw the Amir's daughter, at that moment became smitten with love for her. How many broken hearts were strewn across that busy thoroughfare. To this great city there came a dervish, a wandering Sufi who had spent all his life going from town to town to town, from place to place, always searching for a home he never found. And he too walked down that busy thoroughfare. And by chance, he looked up at that balcony, and he saw the Amir's daughter. And in that moment, he too was smitten with love for her. But what was this? She was smiling back at him. And so the dervish said to himself, she loves me. She loves me after all. All I have to do is wait there in front of the palace, and when she has the courage, she will come down, and we will leave together, and we will find a home who I've searched for all my life. And so the wandering Sufi, the dervish, stood there beneath that balcony, waiting for the princess to come down and join him. People came and people went, but all day and all night there was the dervish, his mouth gaping open, with a blank gaze towards that balcony. Well, the guard of the palace soon noticed this vagrant right in front of the palace of the Amir. And so he threw chains over him and dragged him before the Amir. And the Amir growled at the dervish, "What is this, you fool? Being a vagrant in front of my palace, how dare you?" "Your Majesty," replied the dervish, "you don't understand. Your daughter is in love with me. I am waiting for her to join me here in the streets so we could leave together." "My daughter in love with you? Is that so? Let me call my daughter. Dokhtaram, my daughter, come here." And so the Amir's daughter was brought before the dervish and the Amir. Her face was radiant like the moon. "Dokhtaram," said the Amir to his daughter, "is this true what this fool says, that you're in love with him?" But the Amir's daughter smiled to her father and then turned to the dervish, saying these words, "August sir, indeed it is true that I smiled at you that afternoon, but I only did so because I saw in your eyes that look of inescapable love. And I knew your heart would be broken, so I smiled at you out of compassion. Dear sir, indeed I love you, but no more or no less than anyone else who has passed by that busy thoroughfare." "Gee, what is this I hear?" said the dervish. And the dervish began to weep like a newborn baby. He wept all the rest of that day, wept all evening. And when the first light of morning came, the dervish left that city, never to return to it ever again. And then another bird came forward. Tavus, the peacock, painted with vivid colors, adorned with jeweled feathers, decorated like a splendid bride. And this is what the peacock Tavus said to the hoopoe: "I am beautiful. Too beautiful for this fleeting world. I was born in paradise. Oh, how I miss paradise. Oh, Hoopoe, if I join you on this journey, do you promise me? Do you promise me that I will find paradise? And the Hoopoe replied, Tavus, O peacock, jeweled bride of every happy memory. You seek paradise, but don't you understand that paradise is only a dream of the past? You seek paradise, but don't you understand that paradise is only a drop from a vast ocean waiting to embrace you with love's eternal embrace. And with those words, the Hoopoe told the following story. And so the day came. So the day came when man was chased from paradise. And that evening in the heavens could be heard the echo of an angel that was forever crying. To that weeping angel, there came Jibreel, the angel Gabriel. He came to the side of the weeping angel saying these words, sweet angel, why do you weep so? How can I not weep, replied the angel. How can I not weep? For man, human being, the most perfect creature in all creation, has been chased away from God's garden paradise. How can I not weep at this tragedy? To which Jibreel, the angel Gabriel, replied, sweet angel, don't you understand that it could not be otherwise? For the longer that man stayed in paradise, the less that he saw of the wonders that surrounded him. The longer that man stayed in paradise, the more he mistook the perfections that surrounded him for his own perfection. And so man had to be chased from paradise so that he could always see paradise in a dream every night. And in the end, it will be that dream of paradise that leads him to love's eternal embrace. And then another bird came forward, Shahi, the falcon, with a broad swagger, and his talk filled with bragging of the names of Mirzaha wa Palavanha, the names of princes and heroes. And he too spoke with the Hoopoe, saying this, every day I rest on the arm of a king of flesh and blood, a real king, a king of men. I am the king's favorite. Every day the king says to me that he loves me just as much as Mahmud loved Ayaz. Oh, Hoopoe, why would I go chase your imaginary king when I already serve a real king, a king of men? And this is how the hoopoe replied. Eh, Shaheen. O falcon, indeed you are magnificent in your power. But don't you understand that power is a changeable and dangerous thing? For the one who loses power loses his own life. But the one who keeps power, he loses his own soul. And with those words, the hoopoe told the following story. Once there was a pacha, a king who had many handsome male slaves. But among these slaves there was one he chose as his favorite. It was always that slave who sat beside the king at the banquet table. It was always that slave that accompanied the king on his hunting trips. It was always that slave who spent the long summer nights in the company of the king in the palace gardens, serenading to him. All the other slaves saw all the favor that was showered on this particular slave, and the sight of it poisoned their hearts with jealousy. Look at our king, they said among themselves. Look who they've chosen. Look at him. He doesn't know how to hold a bow and an arrow. He sings out of tune. And look at him after all. He's not even good looking. And so the slaves whispered their contempt among themselves behind the back of the favorite slave, and they kept their distance from him. But one day, a slave was wandering in the palace gardens, and underneath the shade of the willow tree, there he saw the favorite slave sitting down. But what was this? The favorite slave was weeping. Well, that was too much for the other slave, so he went right up to him. Fine thing I see here, you weeping. What do you have to weep for? The king showers all his riches and affections on you. You're always at his side. What do you have to weep about? And the other slave turned to him, and through his tears he spoke. Baradaram, my brother, you don't understand what it is like for me. For you see, our king has taken the sport of archery. And to make it a greater sport, he has chosen as his target the thing he favors above anything else in the world. Me, his favorite slave. Every day we go to the Maidan, to the playing ground, and the king has an apple placed on my head. And the king goes and aims for it. Now every time the arrow slices through that apple, the king brags about his own good marksmanship. But I know the day will come when his arrow will miss, and his arrow instead will hit me. And when that day comes, I know the king knows full well that there will be countless others waiting to take my place. And then the last bird came forward. Kunjesh, the sparrow, flickering like a flame, trembling before his own shadow, always jumping here and there, afraid of every imagined fear. And the sparrow spoke to the hoopoe. Oh, hoopoe, I am as frail as a single hair.
I'm such a puny thing, no one ever notices me. My fears are far greater than my strengths. Oh, Hoopoe, I surely, like you, would want to go and seek our king. But look at me. I'm so frail and small, I will never master all the dangers to reach him.
To which the Hoopoe replied, E Gonjeshk, O sparrow, you are closer to me than any of the birds who are gathered here. For all the fears you show on your wing, every one of us here hides deep, deep within our feathers. But oh dear sweet sparrow, for once, don't listen to your fears. Listen to your heart. For in your heart there are powers there you cannot imagine. In your heart there are powers that even your greatest fears cannot resist. And with those words, the Hoopoe told the following story. And so the day came. So the day came when Yaqub, the prophet Jacob, was confronted by his sons. His sons showed him the coat of ram's wool that was stained with blood. And his sons told him the story, told him the lie, that his beloved son Joseph, was murdered by bandits. And when Yaqub heard this, darkness came before his eyes. And he began to weep and weep. He wept so much that his tears took away all his eyesight. And forever, day and night, he was surrounded by darkness. And in that darkness, he kept weeping again and again.
Yusuf, Yusuf, why did they take my Yusuf? Yusuf, Yusuf, why did they take my Yusuf?
He wept day and night.
Yusuf, Yusuf, why did they take my Yusuf?
He wept for days and days, until he heard the rustle of angels' wings. It was Jibreel, the angel Gabriel, and he spoke to Yaqub like this. Yaqub, he said, Yaqub, stop your complaining. You always offer words to the heavens. Is that all you have to offer? Yaqub, stop complaining. Stop calling your son's name, for if you only give words, you will lose your place in paradise. And so from that moment, Yaqub became silent. He no longer cried out the name of his son. Instead, he wrote the name of his son on his heart every day. Yusuf, 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 Yusuf. And every day he wrote the name of his son Yusuf on his heart. His heart became brighter, brighter like 100 stars. And what was even stranger, his heart started speaking to him. His heart told him wondrous things, of better hopes, of better tomorrows, of hopes he didn't imagine possible, of possibilities he could never fathom. His heart began to tell him wonderful things, until it came to the point where Yaqub couldn't hear it anymore. So he started scolding his heart. No, dear heart, that could never happen. No, that's impossible. Dear heart, no, that will never happen. No, dear heart, no. And for days and days, he scolded his heart for all the hopes and possibilities it spoke of. until the day came again when Yaqub heard the rustle of angels' wings. Jibreel, the angel Gabriel, had returned.
Yaqub, he said, haven't you learned anything? Why don't you listen to your heart? For your heart has greater truths than you can even imagine. Be silent now and listen to everything your heart has to tell you.
And so once again, Yaqub was silent, listening every day to his heart, until the day came when he felt a pair of hands reach for his. The day came when he felt someone approaching him, which had the scent of every new spring. The day came when that person who approached him kissed each of his eyes. And when he opened them, there was his son Yusuf. And Yaqub, through his tears, embraced his son. Oh, Yusuf, now that you are in my heart, from this day forward, I promise, I will listen to my heart. For in my heart there are truths far greater than all the lies that my words invent for me. And so many other birds came after, one after the other. But then there came the moment where it was no longer a time to talk, but to decide whether to go on this journey. And at that moment, all the birds were completely silent. Not a single wing moved. It seemed like no one even breathed at that moment. And then the hoopoe said to himself, After all, every journey begins in solitude. I must begin this journey all by myself. And the path I trace with my wings perhaps may lead others, but I must begin this journey all by myself. And so the hoopoe leapt into the empty blue sky, empty of warning, empty of promise. And she began her journey.